All right. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin. So, when it comes to the daily, we closed literally right below my resistance line, which is hilarious. I've had this for a while. So 69,317 obviously is going to be acting as resistance. We're trading above it right now. It's going to be interesting to see if we can continue above it. But that has been our resistance line for right now. So we were up $4,617 for the day, up 7.14%, which is absolutely incredible for Bitcoin. So definitely a huge, huge bullish move to the upside. It's a really great sign, obviously, for the bulls. That being said, I know that everybody is, either drunk off of gains or they're looking to short or, waiting for the next entry. So here's the thing when it comes to when we have huge, huge moves like this. Obviously, there's a lot of FOMO out there. A lot of people are trying to figure out what to do. Me personally, I like to wait for consolidation to see kind of what range we're going to start being in because obviously we did leave this range we've been in for the past, 2, 3 months from June, beginning of June, basically. And so I'm waiting to see kind of where this is going to range out at. There's a really good possibility that we visit the top of this order block, 70,000 at least, if not getting higher. But the crazy thing is that we closed above the daily 200, which could be a potential sign of a start of a trend reversal on the bigger time frames, right? So this is a really, really good sign, guys. I mean, this is extremely bullish in my opinion, especially because we're also saying above now 69K. We're not really revisiting 68K just yet. That being said, I am expecting some sort of a pullback. We do have an order block right here that I just created, basically. I believe we might have tested it. We'll take a look at the smaller time frames, but I'm basically watching for the top of this to at least get retested somewhere around 67, 700-ish area, if not 68K right above it. Let's take a look at some of these smaller time frames. So your 12-hour, I mean, you got basically the cross above the 200 MA here. And we haven't seen that happen since right here back in April. So that is a very bullish sign, obviously for Bitcoin that we're back above the 12-hour. There's a good chance that we get that 21 to cross as well. It's going to take quite a few candles still. So I would say my estimate is probably within the next 3 to 4 days. As long as we can stay above the 200, we'll get that golden cross with where the 21 and the 50 probably will cross above the 200 MA on the 12-hour. Taking a look at the 10-hour, obviously you're staying above the 200 and the 21. The 8-hour, I mean, this was the move that we were all waiting for I was waiting for a very long time, right? Because I knew that we were going to get the golden cross on the 8-hour and the 10-hour. I just didn't know when we were actually going to get that skyrocketed pump that I've been waiting for. The 6-hour, the 4-hour, I mean, everything is using this line I had as resistance as support now. So there is a potential that we keep it, and that would be the most bullish sign is keeping 69,317. But just be aware that we can definitely close below it. And I am expecting at some point to visit within this order block as well. I don't know when, but this was something that was created, so I am expecting for price to at some point revisit in here. Let's see, taking a look at the 1-hour. So the 1-hour obviously is, it kind of had somewhat of a bull flag right here that actually broke out, right? Didn't draw that too nicely, but you get what I'm saying. This falling wedge type of thing, or this horizontal, twisted sister pattern here. And then it broke out, and then now you're kind of making another flag here, another mini flag, to see whether or not you can keep going, or if this is going to be the end of your rally. So then you're making this, and then this is going to either, obviously break up or break down. So I'm going to take this here, if I can, and we're either going to break up or break down here. So again, if you were to break up, that takes you to the top of the order block around 70,700, which is definitely a possibility. You break down, you start getting into the 68K range again, maybe testing, if this is a kind of an elongated flag here, but you can see it's kind of testing where this would be the top of this flag here, which is another possibility. So either way, it looks like we're going to be doing something like this. Symmetrical triangle where we could potentially be in a premium. It's all going to depend on what range we're in now. But definitely, and actually, you know what, guys, I will probably go over ranges more tomorrow morning. More so kind of where we are premium and discount within the previous range we were, that consolidation range that I talk about. that we were in about, I think it was a couple of years ago. But we'll talk about that. We'll see kind of where we are within that range, if we're near the, basically the midway point, or if we're in the premium now of that range. That's going to matter a lot as well, okay? All right, taking a look at the 30-minute, obviously flagging out here. You can see the flags that I drew kind of basically did play out. This was kind of a bull flag here, leading into this flag as well. This is some symmetrical. It can definitely break up or break down. Just be aware, guys, we are very well extended, right, from the 21 on all of these bigger time frames. So at some point in time, even if we don't fall, if we don't drop, we have to at least consolidate, right? So we have to at least consolidate within a particular area in order to keep that move going upward, okay? Let's see, 15 minutes. So this is kind of the flag I drew. I'm expecting for this to, either break up or break down. There is a potential, right, that this was our high for the week, at 70,048. So that is a possibility. Just keep that in mind. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to dump hard or it's going to free fall. It just means that we may not breach 70,000 again, right? 70,048. So just be aware of that, especially given the day it is. It's Wednesday. A lot of times when we have a bullish week, our high is on Wednesday. So we could even be range bound within this range between 68, maybe the top of this order block to the midway point here. So maybe 67, 633 to about 69, 119 if it wanted to, right? If this was the high and it wasn't going to go higher, it could range somewhere in between here, I would say, probably. All right, guys, that being said, let's take a look at liquidity. Let's take a look at our order book, kind of see, where we're at. As far as levels go, guys, honestly, after we get above 70,761, let's take a look at where the next level would be. I'm actually curious as well. I'm going to have to take a look at some of these other time frames here. All right, so I would definitely have to say probably somewhere around here, 72,688, even up to here, 74,233. Let me take a look at the bearish 786 levels, kind of see where that kind of falls in line with here. Make these yellow, zoom out. All right, so let me take a bearish 786 and see what we can find here. All right, so let's first pull from this impulse down to here. All right, so 70,709, which is the top of this order block. That was obvious there. Your next one's going to be around here. All right, so basically, I'm going to move this down around 73,652, it looks like, would be kind of your next one. Let's get rid of this one. And then let's move it up again to maybe right about here. So their next line would be probably around 75,879. And then your final pull before you take out that double top. So right around here at 77,421. So we added about 3 more levels. You guys might want to put those on your chart. Again, that's going to be contingent on the fact that we breach the top of this order block, which is at 70,700. So that's also going to be extremely important for us to breach that line right there. Okay. If we are able to, that's when you can start talking about getting into the 72, 73 range and then even higher. Okay. That being said, guys, let's take a look at liquidity, see where we're at here as far as liquidity goes. Let me go into the 4-hour time frame. All right. So taking a look at our 4-hour, we dove deep into this red liquidity, which is amazing. We took out all of the 25x for right now to the upside. We don't really have any until we get into that 75-ish range, so that's fine. We do have, obviously, more liquidity to the upside. If it wanted to keep taking this out, it doesn't have to. We did dive deep enough into this red liquidity for us to possibly want a reversal into the 62,000 area if it wanted to. The only thing is now you've breached some of your 200 MAs and you have a lot of support points. So it's not going to be as easy for the bears to kind of get down here for right now. Now, it's possible maybe next month. But for the remainder of this month, it's going to be, we have some really strong support lines. So it's going to be difficult for the bears to break through those. You can see now, I mean, we kind of are starting to build this bridge up here. So it's kind of alluding to the fact that there's still more people shorting. We could possibly even get up to 84K, which is going to be extremely interesting. Just take it one day at a time, guys. Look for the retracements. It's the best thing. I do think for right now that we are in an uptrend, even on, the bigger time frames. Whether it lasts or not is a bigger question, but I do believe that we have flipped into an uptrend for right now, at least. Um, let's take a look at our 1 hour, see where that's at. So taking a look at our 1 hour, you crazy enough, guys. I mean, you have the liquidity to just keep plowing up, right? Even through, all the way to 74,380, if you've not further into 78K. I mean, this could be so extremely violent that we might not even get a decent retracement to have an entry, right? This could be the first time in a while where we just kind of go straight up for a while. It's going to be very interesting. I personally want to see us get down into here, 67,720. If not, I know that there was some other liquidity I saw when I zoomed in, I believe. I guess not. Maybe that got taken out. But yeah, there's a 67,700-ish area. Oh, here it is. 60. So just with 100x, it's around 68,688 to 69K. That could also be an area that you could potentially put an entry. You're going to probably want one down here because this could be acting as support. So 67.7, again, not financial advice with these levels, guys, but that's kind of what I'm going to be eyeballing, is 67.7 as a potential support line if we were to get that drop. I'm going to try to go long from here if we can get down here. But, just be very careful how you interact with price action, right? You don't really want to chase it. And if you do, you could ladder in your entry as well, but just make sure that you're not putting your first order as a large order, because price is extremely extended right now, okay? All right, let's take a dive into the 15-minute as our last kind of area of liquidity here. Yeah, you can see we have some down to 68,782, like what we saw in the 1 hour. You have some down here at 67.7 if it wanted to get down here. Those are the two areas I would be targeting, at least for right now. I'm more so realistically targeting 67.7 because I do know that there's a yellow bar right here and there's a better chance for there to be a bounce right here. But do what you want with that information, right? We could also bounce from here. We could slightly dive into here, maybe make a local 786. Let's see where that would be at here. Probably would have to be this pool. Yeah, so 68,890-ish, it looks like, would be your local 786, something like that. And if you lose that, then you would have to pull, a much bigger pull from somewhere down here. But again, it's not even, this is basically in the middle of this candle as well. So it kind of alludes to the fact that this would be satisfying at least part of an order block right here, like what we discussed. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, at least for right now, okay? All right, let's take a look, a real quick look at our order book here on open market. You have 41.82 order at 70,000. You have another 43.84 order at 70,200. So for right now, guys, this could be acting as resistance. We've seen that a lot, right? So keep in mind that this could definitely be acting as resistance. We are getting some orders to the downside into the low 68,000-ish level. All the way down to about 68,275, a little bit lower as well, into 67.5 as well. Not as big of orders, obviously, getting into the 67.5-ish range, but they're still there. So just be aware of that, guys. I'm waiting for that discount. I'm waiting for that retracement prior to getting into another long. I'm going to be very patient with this because I know that we are very overextended. But I am going to be targeting the fact that we're not going to probably lose 67, very slim chance we lose 67.5. I will say that. I am thinking that 67.5 will be a very strong support line for now, and that we basically are going to stay within the high 67 range, if not the 68K range only. All right. That being said, let's take a real quick look at our simple map, see where that's at, what levels we can possibly expect as support and resistance levels. So obviously we're going to have more liquidity to the downside, locally at least, rather than to the upside. We do still have some, but to the downside, it is going to be easy pickings, right? Because there is a lot more longs right now. So, your first level is obviously going to be 68,760, somewhere around there. You have some of these like 69,180. They're just not going to be strong. I would say 68,760 would be your first line of support if we move to the downside. If you do lose that, you're going to basically fall through all the way to, it looks like about 68,000-ish at the very least. You kind of have 68,300-ish as well, but it does look like you're going to go drop down into 67.8. So 68,760 dropping all the way down to 67.8, down to about 67,680 to 67,560. So again, guys, that's lining up with that liquidity I was talking about, right? 68,760 is going to be your first line of support. If you lose that, you're basically don't really have anything until 67,680 to 67,530. That's going to be, if you lose 67,530, you're really going to be in big trouble because you can literally just kind of fall through all of this down here. So that's going to be your worst case scenario. And then obviously to the upside, you're going to have to basically, and we talked about this earlier, getting above 70,000 is going to be crucial, 70,110. And then now you got this big resistance area at 70,500, Now, if you breach 70,500, I mean, look at how you can just plow through all of this liquidity, like deep into the 70K range, right? So 70,500 is going to be your strong resistance level, and it's not going to be easy to pass probably. If it is, you're just going to fall through all of this liquidity to the upside, and it's going to be an incredible, basically domination of the shorts. And that can definitely happen. It could even happen this week. I just personally, I'm going to wait to try to get in down here. Again, you can ladder in if you don't want to miss out. Just be aware that you can drop down into the 67 range at the very least. And if you lose 67.5, it's going to get real ugly for the bulls. All right, taking a look at your swing time frames, let's see if it's anything different from your scalping time frames. Obviously, like I said, your first area of support, 68,760, that is the same. You lose that, you're going to basically roll into 67,680 to 67,560. And then we don't really want to talk about what happens if you lose 67,560 because it's just going to be ugly for the bulls. And obviously to the upside, guys, for resistance levels, you're looking at 70,080. And then, like I said, you're going to be looking at about 70,470 to 70,500 to the upside. All right, guys, that is what I have for you for this evening. I hope you all had a wonderful trading day, made a lot of money. Again, if you guys shorted, I do feel bad for you. It's it's the name of the game, though. We've all been there. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. Pick yourself up, get ready for a new day. There's always going to be opportunity in this market. I promise you that. And as usual, guys, if you guys want to use TradingDifferent and its tool suite, feel free to use my code Sean to get 10% off of your order. TradingDifferent.com/code/Sean to get 10% off of your order to this amazing tool suite that provides you with a deep inside look at liquidity as well as being able to identify a trend extremely easily for a lot of different assets, not just crypto in general, but it also has stocks on here as well, which is awesome. All right, guys, that is what I have for you for today. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you all in the morning. Take care.